is Nola. I always wanted to be a drummer when I was little. So I guess that's kind of like a start.
My name is Sebastian. I've been playing drums ever since I was 4, so maybe about 5 years. So that begs the question what I just said. How old did you start doing your drumming career?
Well, I started playing drums when I was about 4 or 5 was when I started playing.
Oh,
And so then but when, for actually like playing out in the world, I started doing that when I was like in middle school, when I was like 14 or 15. I my dad and my brothers are all musicians. And so when I was in middle school, I actually started performing with them, like playing some concerts and things like
where did you grow up?
that. I grew up in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I still live here. And it's a great place to live. And then one cool thing about music is that it can take you around to a lot of places. So this is a really great place to live and be and come back home to after traveling around. And I never left.
Do you have a favorite song that you play in?
Some couple Taylor Swift records, and there's a song called Dorothea that I really like a lot that I got to play drums on. It's really fun. It was really fun to play on. I also really like the song, so it's kind of a cool combo of sometimes you play on stuff and it's not, the drums are just very simple drumming, and that's fun. But that song is a awesome song that I love, and I kind of got to like play or like play around and have some fun with some stuff. So that's pretty cool. Probably there's another song that I really love. There's a guy who's called Bon Iver. Do you know who that is? So he has we have another band that's not that band. It's a different band called Big Red Machine, and there's a song on that record that's probably my favorite song I've ever played on personally, and it's called I Can't Run From It. It's really, I just love the song. And so anyways, those are my two answers amongst a lot of other stuff that you probably haven't heard.
Wow.
Ooh, nice speech.
Do you play any other instruments?
Oh, yeah. Well, so you remember how I said that my dad was a musician? So my dad was a musician, professional musician. He played the trumpet. He's retired now, but he played the trumpet, and he also was a band director at a school. And so when I told him when I was 4 that I wanted to play the drums, he said, "Well, that's great." And then he signed me up for piano lessons.
Ah,
Sebastian.
man,
So I was
it must have broke your heart when
it
when
sure
like
did.
you got like he was like okay, and then like you thought he was gonna take you to drum lessons,
Yeah, but he took
and
me.
then your dad was like, maybe I'll wait a little bit.
Yeah. But it turns
I
out
got it right away.
later in life I realized how my dad was about that. Although I was pretty miffed with him for a little while on that one. That wasn't
Oh,
really my favorite decision. But
okay.
so I do. So Nola, yes, I do play some piano. I'm not that good at it, but I did take lessons starting when I was about 5 till I was maybe like 12 or so. So I did. So yeah, so I can still play. I can read some piano and I can play some piano. Very helpful in a lot of other ways.
Well, I just wanted to say that I also took piano lessons and
Oh, you did?
drum lessons.
Oh, great.
Oh, and my drum teacher, Davis, wanted me to tell you how awesome he is.
Oh,
Oh, I have the same drum teacher. What inspired you to be a drummer?
honestly, the first thing was a, student of my dad's who was a drummer who I saw play when I was really little, like probably 3 and 4 years old, and play. And there was something about his personality that I really liked, and he was a really tall and skinny guy, kind of like Nate, and he stood behind the drums, and his arms and legs were kind of going everywhere, and I just was like, that I want to do that. And so really it's kind of funny because a lot of it has to do more with him, just him as a person, not so much as the drums themselves. But I also then I just love the drums. I love how powerful they are, and I love how much vibration they can make, and but they can also be really quiet too. So
What
okay.
type of music did your family band play?
Oh, that's a great question. We play jazz music, so mostly big band music. Have you ever heard of big band?
Oh, yeah,
like you know,
I have.
4 or 5 trumpets, 4 or 5 trombones, 4 or 5 saxophones, and bass and
Oh,
drums.
yeah.
My
Mm-hmm.
dad, he would
I
stand in
have.
front. He played the trumpet and he would sing, and so I grew up, yeah, playing a lot of jazz. And it wasn't until I got a little older and through like school and hanging out with other kids that I started playing like rock.
Oh, you must have had a lot of friends,
Sometimes.
Ben. Man.
Yeah.
How did you meet all the people you play for?
I mean, do you guys know how I got here? That Nate, do you guys know Nate? Do they know Nate? Yeah.
Well, yes, of course.
Yeah, okay. So
Yeah,
Nate, I met
I
Nate when
do.
I was 18, and Nate was probably 21 or 22 or something like that. He is from Massachusetts originally, but he came to Minnesota where I live for college, and I met Nate, and we became really good friends, and we started playing a lot of music together, in a lot of different formations. And so then what happens is as you do that, so once you start kind of meeting a couple people who are interested in music that you're interested in, it's pretty amazing because then usually everyone has a couple more friends, so that are interested in whatever music you might be into. So then, if you start meeting a few people from a different neighborhood or a different school or whatever, and then or like a great place like where you guys go to study music, that's cool because you are like, when I was a kid your age, I just only went to my elementary school, and that was where my band program was and where my lessons were and everything. So I didn't have like what you guys have, which is like you go somewhere where a lot of kids from all over your neighborhoods go to take lessons, right? Which is pretty cool. So you get to meet kids
Mm-hmm.
from all over Brooklyn, probably, right? Or I don't even know how far kids come from to go there.
Well, maybe they usually span from Red Hook, Dumbo, maybe Park Slope, which is very, very, very close to the place.
Yep. Nice. Well, that's great. So anyway, so then, yeah, so when I was younger, it wasn't really like that. So you guys are meeting kids from all over the place, right? So I had to go out, and you have to we would go to like a summer music camp, and then I would meet one person at the camp who I really became friends with, and then maybe they would say, "Oh, I know this other person who's interested in," because I was really interested in jazz music when I was like in middle school and high school. So when I started going to music camps and stuff, that's when I really started to meet people who weren't from my school who were interested in the same stuff. And so then once you start to meet some people, then it kind of can go really quickly because music's great that way. If you find someone who loves music like you do, you have a lot you can talk about, and then maybe they can be like, oh, my friend also plays drums, or maybe my friend takes piano lessons from the same person that you take piano lessons or whatever, right? So it just kind of keeps going. And so then when I met Nate in 1994 or something like that, we became fast friends, and then he became friends with a lot of my friends that I already had, and same with him, right? So all of a sudden you have circles that are now connected. Pretty cool. And then when you start traveling, if you start doing any touring or traveling, playing music, then it really expands quickly because there's a lot of people out who love music. So it's great.
I really have to say that's a kind of amazing process. I made friends with somebody that way.
You did?
I even found a person that I used to be besties with in kindergarten.
You did? Because of music?
Because I was in music camp and I recognized somebody and I was like, hey, that can't be him.
Mm-hmm. But it was.
Mm-hmm.
And now you guys are in touch again?
Yeah.
That's awesome. And you knew him in kindergarten because you went to school with him, and then someone switched to a different school or something?
He had to switch to a different school, and then I had to make a new friend.
That happens. Definitely. That's good that you can make friends and then you can still have your old friends too. It's pretty cool.
You also answered my question of how do you know Nate?
That's how I know Nate. From I met him because our friend Jeff, who's an amazing bass player, who I still play with here, still lives here. Jeff introduced me to Nate. He said, "Oh, you know who you would like is you like this, my friend Nate. He plays the piano." So we got together and played music and went and had lunch.
Who taught you drumming?
Who taught me drumming? That's a great question. I have had I've had a few really great teachers who were really very big influence on me and my drumming in my life too, which is pretty cool. So my first teacher was a guy named Mark Cushy, and he was a student of my dad's as well. So because my dad, it's like he taught a lot of kids music. So former students who became music teachers and people who were out playing music. And so Mark, that guy, he just gave me an amazing everything you could ask for at sort of the first 6 or 8 years of studying drums, where we spent a lot of time just on the snare drum, very basic rudiment stuff. But he also started me off on the drum set right away. And then one thing I kind of actually just realized in the last couple of years that he did that was so amazing was that he made me learn how to read music, and I already was doing that with the piano too, right?
I'm doing that with my drum teacher Davis, aka also Nola's
Nola's
drum teacher.
Yeah. So one thing that was great that Mark had me do that I just am realizing now later in life is so important is that even though we were reading music and all these things, he also made me. You guys have probably never heard of a cassette tape, but there used to be these little things that you tape and you could put music on it. And so each week I had to add another song to the tape. Oh, I'll get to you in 1 second, Nola. He gave me, and so I had to learn those songs, but just by ear, right? So there was no writing them out or anything to read. So in addition to helping me with all the and all the basic things, he also was learn music all the time, learning it by ear. Really, so I think both those things. Then that's really you can learn music in a lot of different ways, and that's really cool part of it.
My mom told me about cassette tapes, and also my mommy likes to record songs too. And she used to use GarageBand, but now she has fancier stuff. Nice. And she uses Logic Pro X.
Yeah, so we used to have to record things on tapes, and you had to rewind. There was all this extra stuff you had to do, but it was kind of cool, you know. And so I had this tape that I just kept adding songs to, and eventually the tape was all full of like an hour and a half of music, and I learned all the songs, and I could play them all. And now, with what I've been doing, especially a lot the last few years, and then a lot in COVID, where all I'm doing is recording in this room by myself, no more people. So Now I'm really glad that he did that because I am pretty good at learning a song by hearing it and just learning it as I go. Oop, look at that. Favorite drum.
Technique. What is your favorite drum technique?
Oh, what is my favorite drum technique?
Mhm.
I would say it's probably the double stroke roll.
Oh,
Have you
my
started working?
favorite one is so far the paradiddle.
Yep. Okay. Paradiddle's great. Paradiddle's what gets you up to the double stroke roll.
Oh,
So keep working on those paradiddles all the time. It's important.
I like it when we do the drum fills. And I also like when we do the cross sticks.
Oh, nice. Good. That's great. No one ever. That's awesome. I like cross sticks too a lot. So do you guys play? Do you have Nola? Do you have a drum at home that you can play on?
Yeah, it's in the basement where Mommy is.
So you have a whole set. Nice.
It's fun.
What about you, Sebastian? Do you have a drum?
I have a drum set down in the basement, and let me just describe it to you. So we had to leave to here, so we left behind a few pieces.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more smaller. We're missing a low tom because we had to leave it back there, but we also have the cymbal with a cowbell. But so far we have a hi-hat,
Mm-hmm.
a high tom, a snare, a cymbal,
Yep.
and a splash cymbal. I think that's what it's called.
Yep. Cool.
I thought it was the hi-hat that went.
Well, yep.
But the crash cymbal is like.
Yep. And then a splash cymbal is even smaller than a crash cymbal. It goes like.
Really?
Yeah, it's tiny. Like that. Like
wow, that's cool. I don't have one of those.
Like this.
Oh!
Like tiny, right? So like.
Does it have holes in it?
This would be a crash cymbal, right? So
and that's a splash cymbal.
Splash cymbal is quite a bit smaller.
Yeah.
It has holes in it.
And it has holes.
Is it supposed to have holes in it?
It
looks like it's supposed to have.
I'm not. This is.
Oh, mine doesn't have any holes in it.
A little modern for me, but I found a way to use it. It sounds
mine
cool.
has little tiny holes in it to kind of.
Cool. And so then, Sebastian, when you play the drums, what do you do when you sit down at the drum set?
Oh, I usually read music off of paper.
Okay. So you're reading like are you reading like beats? Like where you're playing playing the hi-hat and the snare and the bass drum?
Yeah, and I sometimes practice a drum sheet that Davis gave me called Fill It Up. It's a bit of a corny joke, but yes.
Hey, there's a lot of that out there, you know. What about you, Nola? What do you do when you sit down at the drum set?
Well, I fill it up too. And when I sit down at the drum set, sometimes I'm practicing. And sometimes I'm on my lesson with Davis. And at the beginning of every lesson, we always do like a 5-minute jam. And he like has these jam tracks that I play along to. So I have to put these headphones in and plug them into the iPad so then I can play along to it easier.
So he just has stuff that.
Yes, I wear headphones so I don't kill my ears when I'm drumming.
That's good, especially because we get stuck in a lot of basements when we're younger. It's my secret someday music mission is to get all drummers out of basements. It's not fair. There's no windows, damp. It's not nice. Anyways, now I have this nice studio and I have these windows. It's really sunny here today, so I have the curtains closed because it's really sunny. But no more basement for me.
What? I jam with my brother. That's basically a family band. Yeah,
that's awesome.
I have a brother and a mom and a dad.
And everyone plays instruments?
Yeah, everybody plays instruments.
Awesome. What does your brother play?
My brother plays guitar and piano.
Okay. And is he older or younger?
We're actually twins.
No way. That's awesome. Okay. And then what does your mom play?
Piano,
And your dad? Guitar?
guitar, piano.
That's awesome. So what do you guys
It.
play?
We make up our own songs. Make them up.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. Do you also play with the jam tracks that Davis has? I'm intrigued by this.
Yes, we do.
So what are those like? You can just kind of do whatever you want?
There's this melody without a drum, and then we have to fill in what is not. Like, there's no drums, so we have to drum to it. Yeah, you just play along, just like Nola said.
Nice.
Well, yeah, you can just like kind of just like improvise, right?
Yeah.
And you can just do whatever you want. And sometimes if your arms are feeling wiggly like mine were today, you can just go bam, 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 crash, bam, 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 boom, boom, bam, bam, bam.
Drums are great like that, huh? I like that part about drums. Sometimes when I'm having a pretty tough day, it's pretty nice to be able to go and play the drums. You know, you can kind of blow off a little steam. If you're frustrated or whatever, it's kind of nice. I don't know if you can do that with an oboe. Do you guys have like AirPods, or I know Nola, you already said you have headphones. So do you ever try to, and maybe you guys do this with Davis, I'm not sure, but do you ever try to learn a song that you love, like a song that you know and love?
Yes, I learned drum grooves for different songs. I learned Welcome to New York. That's by Taylor Swift, but yep. You played in Folklore and Evermore, right?
Correct.
But yeah, that was one of the songs. And I also learned Talking About a Revolution by Tracy Chapman. Which
that's a great song.
Me and my brother and my mom all like. But we all played our instruments. There are lots of instruments in the basement to the song.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I played along to a song called For Cypress by a band called Grizzly Bear.
Oh yeah, sure.
And then I think I also played along to a song called In Bloom by Nirvana.
Uh-huh.
I also played along to a David Bowie song in his last album before he died, called Black Star.
Black Star, yeah.
And that's it.
Cool. My friend Mark played the drums on that song. There's cool drums on there.
Ooh.
I know, yep. Yeah. See, there's another awesome. I just met Mark because I play drums and we have a lot of the same friends, and eventually now I know Mark. And then him and some other friends of his had a crazy day where David Bowie showed up at their gig, and he was like, maybe you guys should play on my record. And that's how they ended up on that record. They didn't even know him. That's how crazy this whole
They must have been like, stranger, and then they set off some alarm. Like, deep, 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 there's a stranger here. Everybody, hard.
I think it was a little different than that. I think they were playing their gig and they were like, holy cow, David Bowie just came to our gig. It was a little bit more how that went, but yes, definitely. Yeah. But yeah, and then the next thing they knew, they were recording a David Bowie record. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's a cool record. So that is my number one advice to you guys, is to keep playing along. Always learn if you hear a song that you love, and especially if you love the drums to it, learn it. Learn how to play it. Learn how to make those sounds and how to play like that. Just as you get older, it just starts to turn into your own style, because you keep taking these little bits of these other styles, and that way when you're a little older, you like, oh, I really like this part and this part and this part, and now that's what Sebastian sounds like, and that's what Nola sounds like. Because that's the whole goal and the best part about music, get to be yourself. There's a lot of other stuff. Music's all about learning how to be more yourself. It's pretty cool.
My dad likes to collect records.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, we have a billion of them around the house. He doesn't ever really play them, but we just have them. And he works for Sony Music, so he gets a lot of them from work. And he has a lot of guitars from work and computers and stuff. So sure. I guess that's pretty good, right?
Well, that's awesome for you, Nola, because that means you have an amazing record collection at your house. And so that's fun because you can start to discover new things that you wouldn't have known about, right?
I have a record and a record player, and I play my records.
You play your records a lot?
Mm-hmm. On my record player.
Do you have a lot of records or just a few or that are yours?
I have, I'm starting to build up a collection to play, but I've so far got about, let's count. 1,
okay.
2.
Yep. Great record.
3.
Yep. Also a great record. Oh, that's my favorite that you've held up yet. Just listening amazing.
5.
With one of those guys.
This
today.
One's out of tune because it's actually out of tune.
That's cool. I can get with that.
6. I got this for my birthday. 7. A bit of foul language.
That is a very deep cut favorite record of mine right there.
8.
That you even
you might have played with this woman.
Yep. That's true.
9.
Yep.
So I got about 9 records.
That's a very cool, sort of weird and awesome collection of records that you have there. I'm very proud of you.
This was awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You guys are so welcome. And I hope maybe sometime when I'm out there, when things are, when tours are happening again, maybe I can meet you guys in person because I definitely always end up coming to see Nate. So it'd be really fun to actually get to see you and hang out.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Definitely. That would be awesome.
For me too.
Bye.
Bye, guys.